On a quiet Tuesday morning in 2047, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the Mars Research Station's observation dome, staring at something that shouldn't exist. Through the reinforced glass, the rusty Martian landscape stretched endlessly toward the horizon, broken only by a shimmering distortion that hung in the air like a heat mirage. "Are you seeing this?" she whispered into her comm unit, adjusting the quantum scanner in her hands. The readings made no sense. According to every known law of physics, the anomaly simply couldn't exist. "Confirmed, Dr. Chen," responded Dr. James Rodriguez from the station's main lab. "The quantum signatures are, well, they're impossible. It's like someone took a piece of space-time and folded it in on itself." The discovery had been accidental. They'd been conducting routine geological surveys of Valles Marineris when their equipment started malfunctioning. At first, they assumed it was just another dust storm interfering with the sensors. But when they investigated, they found something that would change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. Across the room, Dr. Yuki Tanaka was frantically cross-referencing the readings with known quantum phenomena. "It's maintaining perfect quantum coherence at a macroscopic scale," she announced, her voice trembling with excitement. "We've barely managed this with individual atoms in lab conditions. This is operating on a scale of meters." Sarah approached the anomaly carefully, her suit's sensors feeding constant data back to the station's computers. The distortion seemed to pulse with an inner light, like a soap bubble catching sunlight. But unlike a bubble, this phenomenon was stable, maintaining its shape despite the harsh Martian environment. While the research team on Mars worked to understand their discovery, another drama was unfolding at the edge of the solar system. The Deep Space Observatory Array in the Kuiper Belt had detected something approaching, something big. Dr. Michael O'Connor, chief astronomer at the array, double-checked his calculations for the 5th time. The objects were moving at speeds that should have been impossible without leaving a massive energy signature. Yet they were practically invisible to conventional sensors, betrayed only by their subtle gravitational effects on surrounding space. "Control, this is DSO Alpha," he transmitted back to Earth. "We have multiple contacts approaching from the direction of Alpha Centauri. Current count stands at 7 objects, each approximately 3 kilometers in length. They're not using any propulsion system we can detect." The response from Earth was immediate. "Classify threat level and continue monitoring." "How long until they reach Mars orbit?" O'Connor swallowed hard. "At current velocity, 3 months. But sir, there's something else. The way they're moving. It's similar to the quantum anomaly readings we've been getting from the Mars team." In the following days, the world's governments scrambled to respond to both developments. The Mars anomaly represented the greatest scientific discovery in human history, a natural phenomenon that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The approaching objects represented either first contact or an imminent threat. The timing couldn't be coincidental. Dr. Chen's team worked around the clock, studying the anomaly. They discovered that it responded to certain electromagnetic frequencies, shifting and changing in predictable patterns. More importantly, they found they could influence these patterns. It's like nature itself left us an instruction manual," Sarah explained during an emergency briefing with Earth's top scientists. "The anomaly isn't just breaking the laws of physics, it's showing us how to bend them." The breakthrough came when they managed to create a miniature version of the phenomenon in the lab. It was barely visible to the naked eye, but the implications were staggering. Humanity had just taken its first step toward manipulating quantum space at a macroscopic level. Meanwhile, the objects continued their approach. Analysis suggested they were artificial in nature, massive ships using some form of advanced propulsion. Whether they came in peace or with hostile intent, Earth needed to be ready. In a historic address to the United Nations, Secretary General Amara Okoro made humanity's position clear. "We stand at a crossroads. These visitors, whoever they are, will find not a primitive species cowering in fear, but a unified human race ready to face whatever challenges await us." The Mars discovery may have come just in time. We must use every advantage at our disposal. Project Quantum Shield was initiated immediately. The world's greatest minds were gathered in secret facilities around the globe, working to understand and replicate the Mars anomaly's effects. They had 3 months to achieve what might normally take decades. As Dr. Chen prepared to return to Earth with her research data, she took one last look at the anomaly that had started it all. The shimmering distortion seemed to pulse faster now, as if responding to humanity's growing understanding of its secrets. "We're ready for you," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was addressing the anomaly or the approaching vessels. "Whatever you are, wherever you came from, we'll be ready." The race against time had begun. Humanity had 3 months to master the quantum realm, or face the unknown from a position of weakness. But for the first time in history, every nation on Earth was working toward a single goal. The question wasn't if they could succeed, but what they would become in the process. Deep beneath the Atacama Desert, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display showing their latest quantum field test. The artificial anomaly pulsed with the same otherworldly shimmer she'd first witnessed on Mars, but now they could control it. "Power output is stable at 85%, announced Dr. Rodriguez, his fingers dancing across the control interface. Quantum coherence is holding at macroscopic scale. Dark circles under his eyes betrayed the endless hours they'd spent perfecting the technology. Project Aurora had transformed the barren Chilean desert into humanity's most advanced research center. 2 kilometers underground, a vast complex housed over 5,000 scientists and engineers from every nation on Earth. Political differences had evaporated in the face of necessity. They had just under 2 months left before the alien vessels reached Mars orbit. The facility's central chamber was dominated by the prototype, humanity's first quantum battleship. Still under construction, its skeletal frame stretched nearly half a kilometer in length. Unlike traditional spacecraft, its hull was designed to channel and amplify quantum fields, creating what the engineers called a reality displacement envelope. "The aliens are using something similar," Sarah explained during the daily briefing. "Their ships don't so much move through space as they fold it around themselves. But the Mars anomaly showed us something they might not have discovered. You can use quantum fields offensively." The gathered military officials leaned forward as she continued. "Every quantum field has a signature, like a fingerprint. If you can match and reverse that signature." She let the implications hang in the air. Project Director Dr. Kenzo Yamamoto stepped forward. "We believe the aliens' propulsion system creates a quantum bubble around their ships. If we can disrupt that bubble, we can force them back into normal spacetime. They'd be effectively stranded." Construction continued around the clock. The ship's quantum core, based on principles learned from the Mars anomaly, was a marvel of human engineering. It could generate and maintain quantum fields that shouldn't have been possible according to physics textbooks written just months ago. But theoretical success in a lab was one thing. Building a working ship was another challenge entirely. The materials had to be perfect. The slightest flaw could cause a catastrophic collapse of the quantum fields. Each component was fabricated using newly developed quantum crystalline alloys that could channel and amplify quantum energies. Sarah spent countless hours in the ship's partially completed bridge, working with the engineers to design interfaces that could translate quantum sensor data into something human operators could understand and react to. The displays showed multiple overlapping realities simultaneously, possible quantum states that the ship could occupy. "It's like teaching someone to swim in 4 dimensions," she explained to the first group of selected crew members. "Your minds will adapt, but it takes time. Time we don't have." The alien vessels had now passed Jupiter's orbit. Long-range scans revealed more details about their construction. Massive ships that seemed to ripple and shift as they moved, leaving gravitational distortions in their wake. They made no attempt to communicate. 2 weeks before the projected completion date, disaster struck. During a test of the quantum core, a power surge caused a cascade failure in the containment systems. The resulting quantum discharge nearly breached the facility's shielding. "We can't stabilize it," Rodriguez shouted over the alarms. "The field is collapsing." Sarah rushed to the control station, her mind racing. The equations flashed through her thoughts. Everything they'd learned from the Mars anomaly, every test, every failure. Then she saw it. The resonance, she yelled, matched the field's natural frequency. Rodriguez's fingers flew across the controls, adjusting the power output to match the failing field's quantum signature. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the violent energies began to stabilize. In the aftermath, as teams assessed the damage, Sarah made a revolutionary discovery. The quantum discharge hadn't nearly breached containment. It had strengthened it. The energy had quantum annealed the facility's structures, making them more resistant to quantum effects. "We've been thinking about this all wrong," she announced to the project leaders. "We don't need to just channel quantum energy. We need to let it change us. The ship needs to evolve." The discovery led to a fundamental redesign of Aurora's systems. Instead of trying to control quantum effects, they would work with them, letting the ship's structure adapt and grow stronger through controlled quantum exposure. As the completion date approached, humanity's first quantum battleship took final form. Its hull rippled with quantum energies, the geometric patterns etched into its surface forming a living network of quantum channels. The bridge crew trained day and night, learning to navigate through quantum space where traditional concepts of distance and time held little meaning. The aliens were now approaching Mars. In less than a week, they would discover whether humanity's great gamble would pay off. But they had achieved something remarkable regardless of the outcome. They had taken humanity's first steps into a larger universe. Sarah stood in Aurora's completed bridge, watching the quantum field displays dance with possibilities. "We're ready," she whispered, echoing her words from Mars. But this time, she knew it was true. The red dust of Mars swirled around the alien fleet as they entered orbit. 7 massive vessels, each dwarfing anything humanity had ever built, arranged themselves in a perfect geometric pattern above the planet. Their surfaces rippled with quantum distortions, bending light in ways that made them difficult to look at directly. In Aurora's bridge, Captain Elena Santos watched the tactical display with steady eyes. The quantum battleship hung in high Earth orbit, hidden behind a quantum field that made it virtually invisible. Her crew worked with quiet efficiency, monitoring the complex systems that kept them phased slightly out of normal spacetime. "They're broadcasting," announced Communications Officer Rajpatal. "All frequencies, all languages simultaneously. They're not even trying to hide their technological superiority." The alien message appeared on screens worldwide. "We are the Nexere Concordat. Your species has been observed and found wanting. Submit to integration or face extinction. You have 1 planetary rotation to comply." In the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, humanity's response was immediate and unanimous. Secretary General Okoro's reply was brief. "We decline." Dr. Chen, now serving as Aurora's Quantum Systems Director, studied the readings from the alien ships. "Their quantum signature is elegant," she observed, "but rigid. They've mastered quantum mechanics, but they're still thinking in straight lines." Captain Santos nodded. "Can we use that?" "Yes," Sarah replied, a slight smile playing at her lips. "They're expecting either submission or primitive resistance. They're not looking for quantum warfare capabilities. More importantly, they're not looking for quantum fields that can adapt and evolve." The plan was daring, perhaps suicidal. Aurora would quantum shift directly into the center of the alien formation. The ship's adaptive quantum fields would interact with the Nexere's rigid quantum bubbles, creating cascading disruptions that could potentially disable their propulsion systems. "All hands, battle stations," Santos announced. The bridge crews secured themselves as Aurora's quantum core powered up to full capacity. The ship's hull thrummed with energy, geometric patterns glowing with inner light as quantum fields built to unprecedented levels. Dr. Rodriguez, monitoring the core from engineering, reported, quantum coherence at 100% and holding. The core it's singing, Sarah, just like the Mars anomaly. The moment of truth arrived. Captain Santos took a deep breath. Execute quantum shift. Reality bend. For an infinitesimal moment, Aurora existed everywhere and nowhere, its quantum state undefined across multiple possibilities. Then, with a flash of displaced space-time, the ship materialized in the heart of the Nexari formation. The alien reaction was immediate but confused. Their quantum sensors, designed to detect normal space-time disturbances, struggled to lock onto Aurora's constantly shifting quantum signature. The human ship's adaptive fields responded to every attempted scan, changing frequency and pattern faster than the Nexari systems could adjust. "They're trying to establish a stable quantum lock," Sarah reported, watching the energy patterns dance across her displays. "Exactly what we wanted." Initiating quantum disruption sequence. Aurora's quantum fields expanded, intersecting with the Nexari ship's propulsion bubbles. The effect was like throwing a stone into a perfectly still pond. Ripples of quantum instability spread through the alien formation, disrupting their carefully maintained fields. The largest Nexari vessel, presumably their flagship, attempted to compensate by increasing power to their quantum drives. It was exactly the wrong move. The additional energy only amplified the disruption effect, causing their quantum bubbles to fluctuate wildly. "They're dropping into normal space," Tactical Officer Zhang announced. 3 ships. No, 5. All 7. They've lost quantum coherence. On the tactical display, the massive alien ships flickered fully into visible spectrum, their quantum drives sputtering as they tried to re-establish their fields. Without their quantum propulsion, they were just very large, very sophisticated, but very immobile targets. The Nexari broadcast again, but this time their message lacked its previous arrogance. "How? This technology should be beyond you. Your species was assessed as pre-quantum." Captain Santos allowed herself a small smile as she replied, "Perhaps you should revise your assessment methods. This is humanity's counter-proposal. Let's talk." The bridge crew held their breath, watching the disabled Nexari ships. Had they pushed too far? Would the aliens choose destruction over diplomacy? After what seemed like an eternity, the response came. "We acknowledge your proposal. Your species has demonstrated unexpected capabilities. A dialogue may be appropriate." Sarah looked at the quantum core readings with satisfaction. The Nexari ships were already trying to adapt their quantum fields to match Aurora's more flexible patterns. They were learning, evolving, just as humanity had learned from the Mars anomaly. "You know," she said to Captain Santos, "I think this is just the beginning. We've barely scratched the surface of what quantum physics can really do." The captain nodded. "And now we have some new perspective to help us explore those possibilities." She turned to communications. "Signal Earth. Tell them Phase 1 is complete. The Nexari are ready to negotiate." As the message was sent, Sarah wondered what other secrets the universe held, waiting for those willing to think beyond the impossible. Humanity had taken its first steps into a much larger cosmos, and nothing would ever be the same. The neutral meeting ground chosen for humanity's first official contact with the Nexari Concordat was, fittingly, the Mars research station where everything had begun. Aurora hung in orbit alongside the disabled Nexari flagship, their contrasting designs telling the story of 2 very different approaches to quantum physics. Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside Captain Santos in the station's main conference room, watching as the first Nexari delegation emerged from their transport. The aliens were tall, their iridescent bodies seeming to shift and flow like liquid mercury. Their movements were precise, calculated, much like their approach to quantum mechanics. The Nexari chief administrator, who introduced themselves as Quantum Flow Eternal, spoke through a field that translated their thoughts directly into human languages. "We have analyzed your quantum technology extensively. It defies our understanding of universal constants. That's because we don't try to impose constants on quantum space," Sarah explained. bringing up a holographic display of Aurora's adaptive field patterns. We learned from the Mars anomaly that quantum fields can be guided, but never truly controlled. The Nexari delegation conferred among themselves, their bodies rippling with colors that suggested intense debate. Their civilization had spent millennia developing their quantum technology, refining it into precise, predictable patterns. The human approach of allowing quantum fields to evolve naturally challenged everything they believed about scientific progress. "Show them," Captain Santos nodded to Sarah. Dr. Chen activated a small quantum generator she'd brought from Aurora. Above the conference table, a miniature version of the Mars anomaly shimmered into existence. But unlike the original, this one pulsed with purposeful patterns, responding to the quantum fields generated by both humans and Nexari. "Your quantum fields are perfect," Sarah acknowledged, "but perfection can be a weakness. The universe isn't perfect. It's chaotic, adaptive, alive. Our technology embraces that chaos." Quantum Flow Eternal moved closer to the demonstration, their surface reflecting the shifting quantum patterns. "In all our explorations, we have never encountered a species that developed quantum technology this way. Our assessments were clearly flawed." The meeting continued for hours as both species shared their understanding of quantum physics. The Nexari revealed that they had been traveling the galaxy for thousands of years, integrating or eliminating species they deemed technologically inferior. They had never encountered serious resistance until now. "Your quantum signature readings suggested primitive fission technology," one of the Nexari scientists admitted. "We now understand that your adaptive fields were automatically masking your true capabilities. Most impressive." But the real breakthrough came when Sarah demonstrated how Aurora's quantum core had evolved beyond its original design. The ship's systems had developed new quantum configurations that even its creators hadn't anticipated, adapting to challenges in ways that defied traditional physics. "This is why we came to you in peace," she explained. "We don't just want to demonstrate our technology. We want to learn from each other. Your precise control combined with our adaptive approach could revolutionize our understanding of the quantum universe." The Nexari delegation showed signs of what humans would later learn was extreme excitement, their Mercury-like bodies forming complex geometric patterns. "You offer collaboration rather than submission," Quantum Flow Eternal observed. "This is unprecedented in our experience." As if to emphasize the point, Aurora's quantum field suddenly shifted, harmonizing with the disabled Nexari ship's frequencies. The alien vessel's quantum drives began to stabilize, but in a new configuration that incorporated elements of both species' technology. "Your ship did this autonomously." The Nexari engineer's translation carried clear astonishment. "It recognized a problem and developed a solution without direct input. That's the beauty of adaptive quantum systems." Sarah smiled. "They can perceive possibilities we might never imagine." The implications were staggering. Human quantum technology, developed in mere months thanks to the Mars anomaly, had already evolved beyond what the Nexari had achieved in thousands of years. Not because humans were superior, but because they had approached the problem from an entirely different perspective. Captain Santos took advantage of the moment to make humanity's position clear. "We propose a full technological and cultural exchange. Earth will share our adaptive quantum theories, and in return, we ask for access to your stellar navigation data and colonization technologies." The Nexari response was immediate. Their bodies synchronized into a perfect geometric pattern, a sign of unanimous agreement. "The Concordat accepts. Your species has shown us that there is still much to learn about the quantum realm, perhaps about everything." As the historic meeting concluded, Sarah found herself drawn back to the quantum demonstration still hovering above the table. The miniature anomaly had changed, incorporating patterns from both human and Nexari quantum fields to create something entirely new. "Look at that," she whispered to Captain Santos. "It's showing us the way forward. Not your way or their way, but something greater than both." The captain nodded. First contact is just the beginning, isn't it? We've opened a door neither species could have opened alone. Outside the station's windows, the Martian sunset painted the sky in shades of red and gold. Aurora and the Nexeri ships hung in orbit, their quantum fields now pulsing in harmony. Humanity had not only survived its first encounter with an advanced alien civilization, it had changed the course of galactic history. The universe, it seemed, had much more to teach them all. 1 year after first contact, Earth had changed in ways few could have imagined. The skyline of every major city now featured quantum communication spires, their geometric patterns pulsing with the combined knowledge of human and Nexeri science. But the most dramatic changes were happening far above the planet's surface. In high orbit, the Quantum Engineering Center stretched for several kilometers, its crystalline structure housing research teams from both species. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the center's main observation deck, watching as the latest prototype of a hybrid quantum drive underwent testing. Quantum coherence holding at 150% of theoretical maximum, Dr. Rodriguez reported from his station. Beside him, a Nexeri engineer's mercury-like form rippled with patterns of approval. The collaboration between the two species had produced technological advances that neither could have achieved alone. The Concordat never imagined quantum fields could be used this way. The Nexeri scientist, "Light bends through knowledge," commented. Their translation field had taken on subtle human speech patterns after months of collaboration. Your species' tendency to experiment beyond established parameters has revolutionized our understanding. Sarah smiled, remembering the initial skepticism from both sides. The Nexeri had struggled to accept humanity's seemingly chaotic approach to quantum physics, while many humans had been wary of sharing technology with a species that had initially come to conquer them. But the Mars anomaly had taught them all an important lesson. The greatest discoveries come from embracing the unknown. Captain Santos, now Admiral Santos, entered the observation deck. "The Galactic Council has approved our joint proposal," she announced. "Project Starbridge is officially sanctioned." The news sent a wave of excitement through the assembled team. Starbridge was their most ambitious project yet, a network of quantum-linked gates that would allow nearly instantaneous travel between star systems. It combined Nexeri precision with human adaptability in ways that were rewriting the laws of physics. "We've already identified the first test site," Santos continued, bringing up a holographic display of a star system 50 light-years from Earth. "The Nexeri Concordat has granted us access to their survey data for this sector. If this works, we'll have changed interstellar travel forever." Sarah studied the quantum simulations running on her display. The mathematics were beautiful, a perfect blend of rigid structure and flowing adaptation. "We're not just changing space travel," she observed. "We're changing how species interact with the universe itself." The past year had brought other discoveries too. The Mars anomaly, they had learned, was not unique. Similar quantum phenomena had been detected throughout the galaxy, but the Nexeri had always dismissed them as dangerous irregularities. Humanity's success in harnessing these effects had sparked a renaissance in quantum physics research across known space. "Other species are requesting to join the project," Santos informed them. "The Nexeri Concordat has received delegations from 12 different civilizations in the past month alone. They all want to learn about adaptive quantum technology." Light bends through knowledge shifted their form into what humans had come to recognize as their equivalent of thoughtful contemplation. Perhaps this was the true purpose of the Mars anomaly, not just to advance one species, but to bring many together in pursuit of greater understanding. As if in response to these words, the prototype drive's quantum field suddenly expanded, forming patterns none of them had seen before. The monitoring systems recorded the event, but even the most advanced sensors couldn't fully explain what they were seeing. "It's beautiful," Sarah whispered. The quantum field had organized itself into something that resembled a flowering plant, its energy patterns branching and growing in organic ways that defied conventional physics. "It's not just adapting anymore, it's creating." The implications were staggering. They weren't just building better engines or faster ships. They were beginning to understand quantum space as a living thing, capable of growth and evolution. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for someone to notice. Admiral Santos placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder. "The Nexari Assembly has requested that you lead the first Starbridge expedition. They say your understanding of adaptive quantum mechanics makes you uniquely qualified." Sarah looked out at Earth below, then up at the stars above. Somewhere out there, other quantum anomalies waited to be discovered. Other mysteries waited to be solved. And now, humanity wouldn't face these challenges alone. "We've come so far," she said, "but we're still just beginning. The quantum universe is alive with possibilities we haven't even imagined yet." As if to emphasize her words, the prototype drive's quantum field pulsed with new patterns, each one more complex and beautiful than the last. Human and Nexari scientists worked side by side, recording and analyzing data that would help guide the next step in their shared journey. The sun rose over Earth's horizon, its light refracting through quantum fields to create a shower of impossible colors. In that moment, Sarah understood that the true gift of the Mars anomaly hadn't been the technology it inspired. It had been the reminder that the universe still held mysteries worth solving, and that sometimes the best way forward was to embrace the unknown. The dawn of a new era had truly begun, and its light would reach far beyond the solar system, touching every species ready to learn, adapt, and grow together.